Greetings and
Uh-oh.
Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to bring you the Diana Montford Show. Greetings, Diana.
Hi, Hercules. Well, tonight we have quite a show. It is all about the Imperial Court. The Imperial Court is an organization of transgender folk, mostly transgender folk, not necessarily hormonally transgendered or surgically transgendered, but people who like to dress as women, men usually. And they will be having a magnificent ball, I believe in April. And my guest is fashion and costume designer Jeremy Stewart de Bear, and he is going to tell us all about the court, what it is, the history of it, and if you'd like to attend, he'll tell you how. Anyway, hi, Jeremy.
Hello, Diana. Hello, Hercules. Hello, everybody who's listening.
So tell us about what exactly is the Imperial Court, not only of New
Okay,
York, but the Imperial Court throughout the U.S.
right. The Imperial Court is a series of various chapters across the North American continent. We put on basically drag shows for charity, collect a lot of money through admissions, through tipping, through contests, etc., raffles, etc., and which it goes to various charity organizations. It's a way of using drag to better the community.
Now, the Imperial Court concept started during the AIDS epidemic, I believe.
No, much, much before that. The Imperial Court was founded back in the 1960s by Jose Sarria in San Francisco.
Who,
Jose
excuse me,
Sarria,
was also
sure.
the very first transgender person or openly gay
Mm-hmm.
to run for elected office. She did not
Yes, I
win,
was just
but
about
she
to
made
say
a
that.
statement, and she owned the Black Cat, I believe,
Yes, she
a
did.
bar in San Francisco, a gay bar.
Mm-hmm. Grandmama did an awful lot with her life to, again, make the Imperial Court a viable and growing organization and to do a lot of good work around this country, or
Well, what
continent, I should
charities
say.
does the court contribute to?
Oh, quite a few of them. Oh God, I can't even remember so many of them. Uh,
Well, many. That makes sense.
you name
Certainly,
one, we've contributed to it at some point or another.
well, at one point, I believe the Ali Fournet Center was the recipient
Definitely.
of their largesse,
Mm-hmm.
and
The
which is a shelter for homeless youth.
yes.
And there are many other worthwhile charities throughout the nation who receive money from the various imperial courts. Many imperial courts are in many different states and cities. This is
Mm-hmm.
not just a New York phenomenon, obviously.
No, not at all. It
And since
started
it
in San
started
Francisco.
exactly, so many imperial courts contribute to many charities. And now, can you tell us what? There are many, many beautiful dresses worn by people of all genders and ages and weights.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they acquire these dresses?
Um, these days, there are many different. Yeah, one time you could only go to a private dressmaker or go to thrift shops and see what you could buy and alter to fit yourself or something like that. Or you could make your own if you were up to it. These days, there are many online companies that, for the most part, I would say really just sell women's dresses to a male market, as opposed to actually manufacturing something to, shall we say, a supposed male body. It's
All
personally,
right. Well, now,
yeah.
what would be the difference between designing a dress for a male body and designing a dress for a female body?
Okay. Designing for a female body, you're dealing with it is an altered shape usually from reality, bras, waist cinchers, etc., Spanx.
This
if
is for
necessary.
cisgender women.
Yes.
Okay.
When you're dealing, one night, after the end of One Night of 1,000 Gowns, I took the train home with this lovely woman, Eileen. I forgot her last name, unfortunately. And she said
let's
to me,
stick to the topic at hand.
Okay.
You were saying about designing for women versus men.
Okay. A man's body, typically they're taller, their shoulders are broader. Their bodies...
Much slimmer hips, no hips.
Well, not always.
No
but,
bust.
But in general, yes. In general, no bust. And a thicker waistline. You can only cinch in so much and still get through the night. So,
do you compensate for those differences to make men look like women?
Well, there are ways doing that. One thing that I sometimes do, you pad out, you draw in the waist as small as you possibly can without killing the person or cutting off their breathing. And then you pad out the chest, the bra and the hips to try and at least get something proportional looking.
How do you pad out the hips?
Well, full skirt is the easiest way of doing it, but there are also hip pads that people sell. The really, really super ambitious will have foam rubber sculpted to fit over their own natural hips and thighs and round it out into a fuller shape. And they will wear stockings over that to keep it all in place, and then don whatever they're putting on, whether it be a slim sheath dress, pencil skirt type of thing, or some, then again, if you've got a full skirt with crinoline underneath, one needn't bother with all that, unless some people do.
More or less a 50s silhouette for camouflage of the male body.
For the most part, most drag queens are going for a full-figured silhouette.
Because it makes life so much easier.
Well, it also reads more feminine to observers, including themselves. I mean... And
not to be crude here, but they don't have to tuck with a full skirt.
Well, of course. Absolutely.
Now, are there certain colors and fabrics that suggest femininity more than others?
Well, of course, there's always, pink as a distinctly female color. Anything else, you can dress. The average drag queen, doesn't want to look like her sister. And I don't mean her natural cisgendered sister, but her other drag queens. She wants to be able, they all want to stand out individually, and everybody has their favorite this, that, or the other thing. I've known a number of people who only dress in black, a number of people who only dress in pink and or purple. They tend to be the strongest favorite color enthusiasts I've ever met.
In other words, black, pink, and purple are big among the drag queens.
No, I'll pull that back. I'm sorry about that. I'll pull that back. A number of them will wear only like black or black and white. A number of them will wear pink. Sometimes I often suggest to pink fanatics, add a little purple as a contrast to make the pink stand out, because otherwise you can get lost in, a giant cloud of pink.
Jane Mansfield on steroids, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, do you impose your vision on a client, or do you collaborate with the client, or do they impose their vision on you?
Well, I always make suggestions. I have a lot of experience in what works with people. I've steered some people to a color that would be more advantageous to their coloring, or suggested, if you really want to wear this color, change your makeup. Because if you're going to be if you've got, shall we say, a natural golden complexion, and you want to wear a pink dress or something of that sort, I will say, use a pinker foundation. It will look better with the pink dress. Colors always work in harmony and opposition to each other. And you want to get that right harmony or right opposition for it to work for you.
In other words, if you want to do the opposition thing, you're going to have a very yellow-tinged complexion and wear pink, and that will work?
If you're going for a suntanned look, it may. It depends on the individual golden complexion.
And the individual shade of pink.
That, of course. Absolutely.
Bright pink seems to be safe for almost everyone, no matter what they're coloring. A bright, almost fuchsia pink. Whereas baby pink, which is so pale, can be deadly on some people, including me.
Every color has, works with somebody and works against somebody else. Even medium light pink, for instance. If you've got a complexion that, I always thought that yellow worked on everybody, but it doesn't.
No, not on
very, very young.
Blue-skinned people, summers and winters.
Exactly. And I've also seen people who, again, it's what the effect that you want to create. Two people with the same coloring can wear the same colors, and one will look, let's say, maybe particularly delicate and icily pretty, and the other one may look very sickly. Like,
Bob Mackey once did an experiment where he took one of Cher's dresses. Cher and Carol Burnett were the same size at one point. And he took one of Cher's dresses and put it on Carol, and everyone laughed. And they took one of Carol's dresses and put it on Cher, and she was basically dragged down. Yes. So it's also a matter of personality and personal style, not just color.
Absolutely. I've even met drag queens who like to keep things kind of on the quiet side. They want to look like, a subdued woman as opposed to a very flashy one.
Well, isn't that one of the keys to passing as a woman? Not being obviously drag queen with fuchsia sequins and marabou and all that? Because some cisgender women can look quite... Zsa Zsa Gabor at the end of her life looked like a drag queen because she was addicted to those very flamboyant effects.
Well, we do have a lot of cisgendered women in the Imperial Court who find the Imperial Court as a wonderful way for them to really dress up in a way that women tend not to dress anymore. And on the other hand...
Unless there are movie stars on the red carpet.
Okay. And even then, shall we say 1950s glamour works beautifully on some people. And on some people, they just, between the actual components chosen and then the application thereof, it can look flawless or it can look like something out of a Fellini movie. Where you can see every little
very costumey.
Right. And some people just love looking costumey. It doesn't bother them at all. I mean, a number of drag queens these days have elevated drag beyond looking like a woman to almost like looking, kind of like a creature of fantasy.
Well, some of them have full beards and eye makeup and lipstick and they look fantastic as themselves. In other words,
Exactly.
they create a different aesthetic from the standard
Exactly.
cisgender woman aesthetic. Yeah.
Exactly. And it almost goes hand in hand with the fact that, you know, the young drag queens these days very often get into very acrobatic gymnastic type dance moves, which at one time nobody would ever think of doing. Oh my God, it's going to spoil my makeup. It's going to rip my dress, you know. So, and there are a lot of older drag queens who don't like feeling the pressure to keep up with that.
Keep up
Like
with
anything.
what? With the movements or the pretty young drag queens or what?
Well, both, you know, dressing, you know, and I mean, okay, for instance, I've seen quite a few drag queens who will have a shaved head, and I don't know how it stays on their head because I don't work in wigs myself, actually.
Toupee tape. It's double-sided.
Okay. They'll have a towering top knot that is stuck to their scalp. Bless you.
Thank you. You were saying. I'm smoking a cigarette as we do this interview.
Okay. Okay. They wear like a towering top knot that just gets, you know, taped onto the top of their head or another side or something. And, you know, and of course, you know, a lot of it's like people look at them and say, how does it stay on? How did you get it there? Does your hair actually grow out of that one spot and you shave around it? You know, a lot of people have a lot of fun with drag in ways that were just never thought of being done before.
I think that's great. I think that, contrary to what the Trump administration might think, the world has expanded to accept, to accept all sorts of people. Earlier today, I was watching a performance that Peggy Lee did on a television show in 1967. Now, I love Peggy Lee. Her song Is That All There Is was my favorite song when I was 14 years old, which is very strange for a 14-year-old. But I'm sorry. For all the world, she looked like a drag queen. She was a total woman.
But I think she knew it. She had, first of all, the song Is That All There Is was poking fun at, you know, shall we say, dramaturging, drama queening, and everything.
Yeah, sure.
And she was having fun with it.
Yeah. And
you know,
all right. Now let's say you have a 6'5" tall man.
Okay.
And he comes to you.
Okay.
Well, no, not with a beautiful face. A man with a big square jaw, blue chin, big, thick, bushy eyebrows, muscles to die for if you're a bodybuilder. And he says, can you make me look like a woman? That's a tall order.
It is, if he's willing to modify his goal, it can be done. If, on the other hand, okay, I'm thinking about...
If he wants to look like a matron from Larchmont, he's in trouble, isn't he?
Or if he wants to look like a teenage girl from Larchmont. Although, there are women bodybuilders, and we could go for that type of look. We could...
as a passport to possibility.
Well, one has to realize when one is 6'5", and, you know, maybe someday in the future, it will be common for women to be 6'5". At this point, it's not. So you are an amazing glamazon. So one might as well go for,
Cindy Crawford as a giant, yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
But no bandage dresses. Talk about an uncomfortable bulge.
And I've seen some people go ahead with that anyway.
I've seen trans women with penises wear leggings. That is above and beyond the call of duty. That is like torture. I mean, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. That is really torture, you know. I
Well,
would imagine.
Just wearing a gaff itself and tucking yourself, you know, back underneath it. And, you know, it's like, oh, my God. But they do it. You know, okay, back to that first story that you cut me off from. Let me just explain something. This woman, Eileen, said to me, I just came into my own. I was born in roughly 1950 or so, she said. And just at the point that she was growing up at the age of, you know, becoming a teenager, women were getting rid of overconstructed bras. They were getting rid of stockings with garters and wearing pantyhose instead. And she said, just, you know, so she said to me, I never really got to experience that for very long at all. But these men who I see when I come to the Night of 1,000 Gowns are doing everything that we did up until that moment, going through all that torture that we felt we were being freed from. And it's true, you pay a price to be very glamorous. Each one is a little different. You know,
they used to say you have to suffer to be beautiful.
Okay. Some people have to suffer more than others, you know, depending on,
yeah.
You know,
and
what
some people die on the
with.
table, sadly. Yeah.
Oh, let's not go there, please. Nobody wants to see somebody dying in drag.
Now, how do you access their accessories? Where do you find size 13 high-heeled shoes and, you know...
Payless is well known as a place where you can get, you know, shoes to fit larger sizes.
Well, what are those places?
Payless.
Payless hasn't existed in 10 years.
Oh, God. Okay. Now, there are other places. I don't know of them offhand. Again, it's like, okay, admitting my own insularity, because I make the dresses, I don't make the shoes. You know, I will pass advice on when I see somebody wearing something. And of course, you know, even regular women these days very often do not wear high heels.
You never see high heels anymore on anyone, on any real woman.
Oh, no, I still see high heels on real women. But
you know where I've seen it? I had to go to housing court. The lawyers, the female lawyers, studying in like they're on a runway, wearing high heels, thigh-high mini skirts. I mean, excuse me, hello, what is this?
It's not easy being a female lawyer.
I guess it's not easy being a female or a lawyer. So there you go.
That's true. But any woman in business, but especially in certain fields where you have to look exceptionally intelligent and at the same time...
Well, that's what I mean. They shouldn't look like $2 sluts. They should look dignified and ladylike, not... I've seen things that I cannot believe. And these are like 40-year-old women running around like slutty teenagers. And they're lawyers.
They also have to pander to some extent to their male superiors.
Yes, but female judges tend to be housing court judges, and they take an exceedingly dim view of that aesthetic, that trampy, here I am, fellas, look, that, you know. But back to
not everybody makes the best
community.
Choices in life. Okay.
I always, when I see a lawyer like that, I think, did you work your way through law school by being a stripper? What's going on? And I'm sure some did. But anyway. No. So now, okay, you have a man wants to, now when a man wants to look like a cisgender woman-born woman, that must be a difficult task, isn't it?
Again, it depends on the person. There are some people who walk in there, put on a dress, and it's like, you should have been dressing as a woman you should have been living as a woman your entire life. You have just found yourself. Whereas there are other people who, you know, will always look like, you know, they should be bouncing a basketball on a court and shoving it, no matter what they're wearing.
Well, you often see very nerdy, unattractive men become beautiful women when they're in drag.
Okay. Male beauty is on average, a very different thing from female beauty. And male beauty tends to rest upon one's natural physical attributes. If you're very muscular, if you've got great bone structure, if you are tall, if you can, you know, look like you can lift a car and with one hand or something like that. And, you know, I mean, a man can have a very ragged, withered face and still be considered very handsome in some cases. Whereas, you know, when you get a soft, shall we say, soft-featured, not overly muscular man, he can use all the tricks that a woman will use to his greatest advantage. And sometimes end up looking like a great beauty.
Yes, I've seen that. And it's amazing. Men you wouldn't look at twice transform into goddesses. That's very strange.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is also what's inside the person and coming out. Sometimes, as I said, they take a look at themselves in the mirror for the first time on film, and they're just like bowled over by how pretty they look. And
well, yeah.
You've got to
okay. Now, let's say that someone comes to you and says, I want this, that, and the other thing, and you know it's wrong for them. You know that this is going to be a disaster. They want the wrong style, the wrong color, the wrong neckline, the wrong sleeve length, the wrong skirt length. You know this is going to be awful. What do you do with someone who's bound and determined to have something made that you know will look hideous and will reflect on you because your name is on it?
Okay. If I'm designing for the person, I will try to use every little trick that I possibly know to create a silhouette that will work for that person to their best advantage. Sometimes, unfortunately, one fights a fight that one knows one will never win. You know, oh, I don't want padding over here. It's uncomfortable. Well, I don't want this. I don't want that. Can I wear flat shoes? Can I wear, you know?
I insist on lime green and hot orange for my color scheme. Something like that, yeah.
That can work with somebody. All you have to do, if necessary, is maybe change the makeup. Okay, lime green and orange, because I've done that for people.
Well, I didn't. I was just grasping for an example. I don't mean,
but
you know, whatever.
Use that example to show something. Okay, I know some people who love looking bizarre. I know a bearded drag queen. I've made, let's say, fuchsia, lime green, and black in one dress. And cutting the black was probably the hardest part, believe it or not, because I just couldn't see the fabric or, you know, where the scissor was cutting or anything like that. Once it was put together, it was done beautifully. He looked striking. He's 6'2". At the time,
doesn't want to pass, obviously.
No, it's creating, you know, it's creating an effect. I find that, okay, amongst the various people who cross-dress, I think drag queens are the least, in general, least interested in looking like a real passable woman. When you get to transvestites and transsexuals, being believable, you know, passing is much more important to them in general. They're a lot less flamboyant, as most transvestites have said to me, I want to look like a real woman, like a secretary, which is not.
I think I know whom you mean. I know her.
Yes.
She lives in my neighborhood, as it happens. I'm sorry?
Yes. It's
yes,
more than one.
She's such a flower of beauty. You get my drift.
You know what? She does all right for herself. She's happy with the way she looks.
She looks like a secretary, and it works. A well-dressed, but not tremendously pretty secretary, yeah.
Okay, and she goes out. She goes out with her friends, dressed as this secretary, and goes out on the town, has a great time.
Do you know when I first saw her?
Yeah.
May of 1974 at the Club 82. Mm-hmm. And
I saw with her.
Well, we didn't know. I saw her. I didn't speak to her.
Okay.
I remember that she was wearing glasses, and I thought, oh, who's the glasses girl? And because I thought, gee, she looks like a secretary. I didn't realize that was the look she was going for. You know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Look.
I don't think she remembers this, but I remember it because I recognized her instantly when I met her decades later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, everyone has to live their own, live out their own dreams.
Look, I totally agree. I dress like a nun sometimes in my trademark black dress, and that's me. And I read on the internet just today that her hair never moves. It's always perfectly in place. But I'm not sure they meant that as a compliment, you know. But anyway, so, I mean, yeah, we all have a style that we like.
Mm-hmm. There you go. You know, I think in a way that living as a cross-dresser, a person has a lot more personal freedom to do exactly what they want than most women who feel that they have to keep up with what everybody else in their group is keeping up with.
A cross-dresser, yes, but a transgender person, a transsexual, as they used to say, usually wants to pass as a native, natural female.
And they've often got...
For example, I'm what they used to call a transsexual, and I don't wear a brassiere because I know that... Well, that's my point, but they will see that these are real tatas and not, you know, not a padded bra or something. Everybody's got their attributes. And as you said, you inherited your grandmother's breasts, and they were spectacular. Well, she was using them at the time, but yes, okay. She was using them? Did she left them to me in a trunk. It was sweet.
Look, I don't need them anymore. I'll go back and visit them when I'm lonely.
She was once in a high-end casino in Madrid, like circa 1913, when she was a very young woman. And the mother of a famous courtesan walked in and stared at my grandmother, who was a teacher, a school teacher, and went up to her and said, "Excuse me, miss, what do you do to keep them so firm? Is that some kind of corset?" My grandmother was appalled, and she muttered, no, it's real. Oh, how wonderful. Oh, my. This woman was about to grab one, and my grandmother moved away. Things the Titanic never told you. But anyway. So, okay. Now, let's say, you know, now you also do fashion for cisgender women and people with, how shall I put this, differently abled bodies.
Of course, yes. I've got one client who is very self-conscious of her body because most people wouldn't even recognize anything unusual about her body, but she, growing up with her body, this is too small, this is too big, I feel lopsided.
Yeah, people have those. Everybody has that.
Okay, well, you know, I had to deal with it with her. And, it could be a little trying at times, but it was a challenge, to make sure in stretch fabric that a seam was not 1/8 of an inch off where it should have been or something like that, which is very often just, push something over a little bit and then it's in place. But, that particular person's problem, I think, at least as far as it hit me, was the first few garments that I made for her. She looked at herself in the mirror and she saw herself in those designs. As she got more and more used to having things made for her, she began to see her own body inside them or underneath the fabric covering, and it became a little bit more challenging for both of us. Does that make any sense?
What do you mean that she still had body dysmorphia no matter what you did to make her look balanced? And
but
she said, no.
At first, she didn't notice. It's like the body dysmorphia was gone. She was just seeing this dress, it's fitting very smoothly. It doesn't have any unnecessary wrinkles in it anywhere. I'm ready to jump down the steps and go shopping and whatever, And later on, she would start noticing, this princess seam is missing my nipple by 1/8 of an inch or something like that. It wasn't even her own natural nipple because she padded herself.
You really can't win with some people because of their neuroses. It's not you, it's them.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody once called me up, said he was recommended. He didn't say who recommended me, which was a bad sign to begin with. But he wanted a pair of trousers made for him. He said, nobody's been able to make a pair of trousers that would possibly work for me. I will pay you anything to make me a pair of trousers that can fit me. And
what's wrong with his body? My goodness.
You want to know something? I never
What?
bothered to find out. I never bothered to find out because with a track record, admitting to a track record like that, I said to myself, okay, one of two things. He's either never going to be happy with anything that anybody tries to do with him,
mm-hmm.
or he could be being set up by, I've had, unfortunately, a few clients who were body dysmorphic and nothing was good enough for them. And so they, just short of suing me for not making something that fit them to their personal satisfaction.
And you have to be tactful, and you can't say, well, look at yourself. I mean, I can only do so much.
No, I would never say that to anybody. I would, kind of gently, steer them, if I could, into, suggesting things that might work a little bit better, or saying, I understand you want to have, let's say, a bat wing sleeve, but you would probably look better if the bat wing wasn't down to the waist, but a couple of inches above it, because you've got a nice whittled waist, show it off, and then have the drape of this big, loose sleeve or something like that. And on the other hand,
I always listen to your suggestions, and I guess a lot of people don't.
Some of them, some people are just either too frightened to try something. They're just afraid. It's not easy, it's okay. It's certainly not easy to branch out, spending a whole life dressed as one sex and then trying to look like the other and see how you could manage. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always turn out that, the little, the Bartleby the Scrivener turns into a delicate little beautiful willow or something like that. A lot of people are afraid.
When I was, many years ago, in 1999, I was a so-called peer counselor at the Center for Trans Women. and wannabe trans women. And one day, this big bruiser truck driver, he was literally a truck driver, walked in and he said, all my life, I've seen myself as a beautiful pink ballerina. Now, try to keep a straight face when someone like that says that. It's not easy. And I thought, you know, huh?
I don't think I would laugh. I wouldn't.
I did not laugh. You're not allowed to laugh.
No, I
and
understand
you have to
that,
call them clients, not patients. And you have to address them as Mr. or Miss. You know, and you can't say, buddy, you're cracked. Get out of here. No, you can't do that.
No, I would never do that. I would never even think of doing that because I sympathize and empathize with, you know, any of my clients, anyone who even asks me just for advice, because we're all, you know, we're all trying to do the best that we can in this world with, you know, in so many different ways. And I personally never grew up with enough support, especially in the right places at the right times. So I have deep feeling for anybody in this world who wants to do something with themselves and possibly try something new or, you know, etc. So there's no way, you know, look, I've got a lot of clients who are from all shapes and sizes. And believe it or not, sometimes, you know, you would think, or many people would think, that somebody who was vastly overweight could never pull it off. They sometimes pull it off better than somebody who's much, much thinner.
Do you mean a man trying to look like a woman?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it softens everything. Fat softens everything.
You know, a lot of very large men have natural breasts, which you can use to some extent. They make great cleavage. They make wonderful cleavage, and you just add out sideways to make up for it.
And their faces are much softer than thin men.
Absolutely.
And they're rounded and and they, now, let's say someone has a very definite style. They know what they want.
Okay.
You don't like it. It might suit them, but it's just not your cup of tea. Do you follow their guidelines? And, you know, I want fuchsia and, I don't know, some horrendous color. And I always wear a 60 silhouette. What?
Okay, let me say
with a skirt up to my thighs, and this is what I like, and blah, blah, blah.
I've had quite a few people who like to wear, you know, skirts that give no doubt as to what their religion is. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
You know.
But those aren't the ones who want to pass. I always dress in a conservative way. And I remember meeting a drag queen who was a postal worker in his life. And he looked disparagingly at me and he said, honey, you have to get sexier. You know, and he was wearing like literally a crotch-high mini skirt, low-cut top. I thought he looked ridiculous. And he thought I looked nun-like. So, I mean,
but you realize he was paying you the greatest compliment on earth because he was basically saying, why? Because he was basically saying, you could get away with what I would like to look like. That's what he was saying to you. And he thought that you were squandering it. I've had people say the same thing to me in opposite ways. I was at a bear convention once, and I was just way too
a bear convention, meaning thick-set, hairy men. Yes. Okay.
Yes. And somebody was like, you don't need to dress like that, and everything. It's like, I'm okay, thanks very much. This is how I prefer to dress at the moment. And, you know, and he's still like looking at me like, it'd be so damn hot in a tank top and everything. It's like, but I don't feel comfortable in a tank top. You know, everybody, you've got to, you know, this is why I work with my clients. I don't want to work against them. Color is the easiest thing to do because all you have to do is go fabric shopping, or in my case, since I do have a large, I've got a whole closet full of fabrics, I can take out a piece. Okay, I had a client who wanted a brown dress. And I thought to myself, you've got beautiful blue eyes. It's not going to, they're just going to like fade. You know, if you have something made up in brown, why would you want something made up in brown? It's not your color. I took out a big piece of blue fabric and I threw it over both shoulders and turned on the lights, opened the mirror and said, take a look at yourself. And then I took a piece of brown and threw it on top of it. And then I pulled the brown off and said, do you see the difference? And he said, you know, you're right. I think I want something in a shade of blue like this. We made a beautiful suit for him. He was very, very happy. And he thanked me after and said, you know what you're talking about. Thank you very much for steering me into this blue dress. I love it.
That's great. That's what a designer does.
Yeah, so
they're surprised
I wrote the suggestion.
Yeah, no edicts, no nastiness like you're kidding with that, right? No. This is what you should wear, not that piece of crap. Yeah.
You don't use words like crap. I mean, you can draping.
No crappy smothers, please. Yes.
I can take a piece of fabric. If it's a big enough piece, I can drape it on the person just to give a suggestion of what a full skirt would look like as opposed to a tight one.
Well, excuse me. You also have a very clever trick. If someone wants, say, a pencil skirt, you have a way of cheating it. I know because I've seen you do it. That, like, you make a slim bell skirt that covers the male parts, but slims down to the legs. Or you do a tulip skirt, and that's very clever because it gives the impression of a pencil skirt without the sorry tales a real pencil skirt would tell.
I'm actually working on a class how to teach students to make a pencil skirt knowing through split measurements. I'm not going to go into divulging what split measurements are, but it's the idea of a pencil skirt is a very particular type of style, and it is supposed to hang straight down from the
perpendicular with the stomach. Yeah.
Yes, and all too often I've seen people wearing something that they bought off the rack, and they thought, well, it fits me, and it's like, you can squeeze into it, but that's not the same thing as fitting you. If it cups in under your stomach, especially if you're, dressing trans in any way, shape, or form, and it starts showing off male genitalia under a skirt for a female effect, not for a male effect. Though I have to say, one of my first experiences with drag was at Fire Island. You won't say how many, it was about years ago. A man was wearing a crystal-studded women's suit, very, very constructed. He must have really, I could tell that he had a very straight up and down body. And this thing really was cinched in at the waist and flared out at the hip. And it had a very pegged skirt. Excuse me. And he wore it with a pair of, it was a black suit with diamond crystals in a diamond pattern, and it was a knee-length skirt, and he wore like about 3 pair of pantyhose over his very hairy legs, but you could still see them. And he wore lime green stiletto-heeled pumps.
Oh, I'm not so sure about the pumps with the black suit, but okay.
And he was smoking. He had a very nicely trimmed Van Dyke beard, and he was smoking a cigar. And he had one of those, military crew cuts that was partly blonded. Otherwise, it was black.
I admire that.
He carried that off so beautifully. He didn't look like a woman. He looked like that was the way men dressed.
Good.
It
Good.
looked
Good.
so natural on him. And in history, you could see the parallels with men's clothing from like the middle 1800s when they wore corsets and flared skirts on their frock coats and things like that.
Well, men in show business often wear girdles or Spanx to do away with this pot belly. And
absolutely.
So yeah, but we don't have much time left. But if people, okay, do you respect people's individual styles, even if you know it's wrong for them?
There's no such thing as wrong for them. If this is what somebody wants, if they can carry it off, fine.
Well, yeah, but let's say someone wants to look beautiful and passable, and they're wearing just exactly the wrong thing, and it's the wrong thing. Do you, you've mentioned that you suggest, well, why not try this or that? But ultimately, is the customer always right?
If the customer is willing to wear it out, knowing, I give them the full advantage of, what I can advise. And if they don't want to follow my advice and they want to go out and, try and carry it off, first of all, if you can carry it off, I give you all the credit in the world. If you can't carry it off, so it's like, if this is what makes you happy, then go ahead with it.
I think that's a great attitude. Good.
Well, it is. It's the most important part of it. I mean...
Well, I have a picture of me in a beautiful black suit you made for me many years ago with a fox collar. I love it. I just love it. And I wore that same black suit without the fox collar in an advertisement for a political mayoral candidate. And I was very happy with ultimately.
Thank you.
Frankly, I gained too much weight and whatever. But in those days, I was slimmer. This is like 25 years ago, and it looked great, So
thank you.
You're welcome.
And you always carried everything off beautifully. You have a great flair.
And
one doesn't have to worry about you.
Well, thank you. And you made me a beautiful peach evening dress that elicited applause, the only applause of the night, when I wore it in your fashion show.
Thank you. I remember that as well.
Yes.
Very well.
And that medieval dress that we wore to Staten Island, remember?
Yep.
Black and bright pink. And it was very nice, and it was wonderful. You're a great designer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you find that? Well, you're welcome. Do you find that people today are so trapped in the jeans and T-shirt world that they wouldn't understand dressing with a certain flair or elegance or whatever?
There are rumblings now. There are rumblings. Well, people are getting a little bit... last year you were seeing people looking like, are you about to go to bed? You're wearing that on the subway? You're wearing that on the street?
Can you imagine pajamas on the subway? My God. And to fly, they apparently wear pajamas on airplanes.
Well,
gone are the days of a tailored suit and hat and gloves.
Oh, that was gone a long time ago. When I was going to UCLA many years ago, most people were wearing running suits on planes and everything.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And sweatpants.
And if they want to show status, it's like juicy couture, which was big in those days. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, one last thought about people's style and how they can look good and all that.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about to thine own self be true?
Well, it's not only that, but it's also important to experiment. Because if you don't try something out, if you don't, and, it doesn't mean, I'm not saying spend, $5,000 on a couture gown, in a style that you're that you've never tried before or anything like that. But, allow somebody to drape some fabric over you in a color that you're not used to and see how it looks under different lights. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that everything is relative.
We are almost out of time.
Okay.
Now, how can people contact you if they want a design?
You can email me at houx@gmail.com. H-O-U-X.
WHO?
No, H-O-U-X, French word, C-O-U-T-U-R-E, one word, houx @gmail.com.
Okay. And regarding the Imperial Ball, how do people go to that?
Okay. You can look up Imperial Court of New York, Night of 1,000 Gowns. It is being held on the 11th of April in the, I don't know what it's being called now. They keep changing the name of it.
If they look up Night of 1,000 Gowns, the venue will
all
be...
the information.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they look up Imperial Court of New York, Night of 1,000 Gowns, and they will find out the ticket prices and the venue.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's even parking available.
That's wonderful. And anyway, my guest has been fashion and costume designer Jeremy Stewart de Fischberg, who often designs for the drag and transgender community. He's a great designer. I've been privileged to wear his designs, even to model them. I was always ecstatic with his designs and was always complimented on my appearance when I wore his designs and when I do wear them. Well, thank you. And I'm Diana Montford. This has been the podcast edition of the Diana Montford Show, and I will be speaking with you, God willing, the third Saturday of every month from 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. And I love you a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Diana and Jeremy, for another great episode of the Diana Montford Show. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and take good care.
You too. Bye.
Are we still on or what?